She thought she was invisible, just another cleaner, moving quietly through the shadows of a mansion that wasn't hers. But one night, she saw something no one else was meant to see. A glass, waiting to be lifted. A secret, waiting to destroy. And when she screamed the truth, the world didn't hear gratitude. It heard defiance from a woman society had already decided didn't matter. Why would anyone believe her? And how far would those in power go to silence her? Maria had always been the kind of woman people overlooked. She cleaned the billionaire's mansion with quiet precision, dusting the gold frames, polishing the marble floors, arranging the crystal glasses so they sparkled like jewels. It wasn't glamour, but it was steady work, and it helped her keep food on the table for her children. To the family she served, she was just the help, someone meant to blend into the background, silent and invisible. Yet in her silence, she noticed things. The way the fiancé smiled without warmth, the whispered phone calls that ended when footsteps approached, and the uneasy feeling that the house she worked in held secrets darker than any stain she scrubbed away. The mansion always glowed at night, its chandeliers spilling light across rooms too large to feel human. Maria moved through them with practiced care, her hands rough from years of scrubbing surfaces that would never be hers. But on this night, something felt wrong. She entered the dining hall to find a single glass of wine set aside, gleaming in the golden light. She paused. Something about it felt staged, waiting. Then she noticed the fiancé, standing nearby, her eyes sharp and calculating, watching Maria as though daring her to ask questions. Maria's chest tightened. She had lived long enough to recognize when something didn't add up. She had seen the way the fiancé whispered into her phone, lowering her voice when Maria approached. She had noticed the sudden tension in the billionaire's smile, the way trust between the couple seemed thinner than glass. And now this drink, untouched, perfectly placed, like a trap waiting to be sprung. But Maria knew her place. She was the cleaner. No one asked her opinion. No one believed her observations. Whenever she spoke up, she was met with silence. Or, worse, dismissal. She had learned to swallow her words, to bury her instincts. After all, in a world that already looked down on her skin and her station, her voice carried no weight. Still, something about the glass made her linger. She reached to adjust it, and in that moment she caught a faint, bitter scent. Her stomach dropped. She knew what that smell meant. She had scrubbed kitchens where others whispered about poison, where betrayal wasn't just gossip, but survival. Her heart began to race, yet even as fear rushed through her veins, another thought screamed louder. If I say something, will anyone believe me? Or will they see me as just another black woman trying to stir trouble? The weight of that doubt pressed heavier than the threat itself. The fiancé's gaze lingered, cold and unblinking. Maria forced herself to move on, polishing the table, straightening the silverware, but her mind wouldn't quiet. Each second ticked like thunder in her chest. If she stayed silent, the man might die. If she spoke, she risked losing everything: her job, her reputation, her ability to feed her children. The clock struck 8. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. The billionaire was coming. Maria froze, her eyes darting to the poisoned glass waiting for his hand. Her throat tightened, every muscle screaming at her to do something, to say something. But would her voice matter? Would anyone stop long enough to listen? And then she heard it. His footsteps entering the room, steady, unknowing. His hand reaching for the glass. Time seemed to slow, every sound swallowed by the beating of her heart. Maria knew she had only one choice left. But once she made it, there would be no turning back. The billionaire's hand lifted the glass, crystal catching the chandelier's glow. Maria's chest burned as though every second stretched into eternity. She couldn't hold it in anymore. With a voice that cracked through the silence, she screamed, "Don't drink that!" The room froze. The glass trembled in his grip, his eyes snapping to her in confusion. And then, the fiancée. Her face shifted from surprise to fury, her smile twisting into something sharp and venomous. "She's lying," her eyes seemed to say without words. Maria's heart thundered, her palms slick with sweat. She tried to speak, tried to explain what she smelled, what she knew, but the weight of centuries pressed against her throat. She wasn't just fighting a lie in that room, she was fighting the unspoken belief that her voice didn't matter, that her truth was too small to be heard. The fiancé rushed forward, tears already forming, her performance flawless. "How dare you accuse me?" Her words weren't spoken, but the venom in her body language was loud enough. The billionaire's face hardened, confusion mixing with suspicion. But where did his suspicion fall? On the woman he loved, or on the cleaner, whose skin made her an easy scapegoat? Every gaze in the room cut into Maria like knives. She saw the butlers shifting, the guards exchanging looks. She was no longer just the cleaner. She was the target. And in that moment, the air became suffocating, thick with the weight of judgment. Her. Cry had saved him, but it also condemned her, because in that instant, Maria understood. Truth didn't guarantee freedom. Sometimes it only pulled the mask off hatred. And now all eyes burned with the question of whether she had overstepped her place, or whether she would be punished for daring to speak at all. The glass never touched his lips. Maria's scream had stopped him just in time. But instead of gratitude, what followed was suspicion, whispered accusations, and eyes that judged her worth before her words. The fiancé's lie unraveled days later, when the truth could no longer be hidden. Yet by then, the damage to Maria's spirit was already done. She had saved a life, but she had also been reminded how fragile her own was in a world where her skin and her station made her invisible until it was convenient to blame her. Maria returned to her children, holding them tighter than ever, knowing that her voice had nearly cost her everything. And yet it was her voice, the one everyone tried to silence, that had made the difference. Her story is not just about one mansion, one glass of wine, or one scream in the night. It's about every moment when truth collides with prejudice, when the people most overlooked carry the heaviest truths. It's about how racism doesn't always appear as violence in the street. Sometimes it hides in a glance, a dismissal, a disbelief that someone like Maria could ever be right. So the question remains, how many more voices like hers will be doubted, ignored, or punished before the world finally listens? Because Maria's scream may have saved a life, but it also echoes a truth far bigger than her own, a truth that demands to be heard.